not only did you serve or still serve this country in uniform, you continue to serve, and you say thank you right back. You say it verbally, and you say it with action. 54 years. You may not know this, but there's a lot of fraternal organizations in America. I'm telling you, there is none that is better than this organization, given the size and complexity of what you do. There is none better. Even the other military services, if they all put all their heads together, they would not be better and they would not be bigger. You do it better than anybody else, and you do it with class. I saw a little note today in the handbook that I was given, and they said there's a Bud Andrews chapter. So I'm guessing that's Scott Air Force. I'll tell you, Bud, I'm going to tell you something about Bud that many of you may not know tonight. He's a dear friend of mine. When Bud was chief, you know Bud was a career cop. Everybody knew that, right? And he was the first sergeant at the 65 94th Test Group. And very few people know what the test group was, but I was part of that. He was the first sergeant. One thing you may not know about Bud is that, unfortunately, when he was chief and he left to go on a trip one day, when he came back, his wife and his daughter were gone. How many people knew that? His wife took his daughter. Bud continued to serve as Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force till the end of his tour. And for 35 years, he looked high and low to find his daughter. He finds his way to Scott Air Force Base, and I'm there as the Air Mobility Command Senior Enlisted Advisor. And we try to reach out through the USO, and we do some things, and I got Bud on the guest speaking tour. A lot of people don't know it, that General Fogelman sat here, I had my office here, and Bud Andrews had an office up there. He stayed there, and he helped us in security. It helped us with security discussions with all of our Air Mobility Command people around the United States Air Force. Matter of fact, Bud helped me a lot in instituting the bike patrol for security police. It was just a test program, but he was a great guy, and he looked for his daughter for 35 years. And he comes to Scott Air Force Base, and there's a young staff sergeant by the name of Rebecca Gable. Rebecca is an Air Force Sergeants Association member. Rebecca and her husband find Bud's daughter. She's in a town, I think Jackson, Missouri, about 70 miles away from Scott Air Force Base down there. They get an Air Force car. They drive Bud down there to meet his daughter for the first time in 35 years. That's an AFSA member at work. Bud remains my dear friend. We laid him to rest on a Friday before my retirement on a Monday. It was one of the most mixed emotion things for me I ever had to deal with. And of course, recently I lost another good friend, Jim Beneker. I know he spoke here last year on the state too. I spoke with him in January several times after the beginning of the holiday, and Jim was, boy, he sounded really bad, but he was committed to speak last week down in Oklahoma. And of course, he just recently passed away. I miss him greatly. One of the smartest people, business people that I ever knew. He was very benevolent, very kind, and I will tell you that the Air Force Enlisted Widows Home expanded greatly under his time. So I'll miss Jim very much, and I miss my good friend Arthur Bud Andrews. So when we get together for these things, I kind of wonder, so why do you do what you do? Why do you do the AFSA thing? Why do you do that? And so, you know, there's a couple of obvious reasons to say, well, you care and you want to help, and I get all that, but it goes to the 4 pillars that you talk about at AFSA, and the first of the 4 pillars is just, we're just a fraternal organization. We're just people getting together for a lot of reasons, and why? There's a social aspect of what we do. I mean, you know, if I can come to one of these things, you know, the numbers are small, but they are mighty, and there's so many great people that you meet and you see, and it just does my heart good. You may be happy because I'm here, of course, then again, you may not, because I'm talking too long. I gotta tell you, I'm ecstatic that I'm here because of you. Because you help me and that organization, in my mind, about friends. And we don't take enough time for that. So you have shared experiences and we do things, and I look forward to going up to the hospitality suite and, you know, spreading some lies up there. The other thing that we do, and you know, I know Dan talked about it a little bit too, is we kind of communicate with them. We talked about one another. And so whether you do or do not use social media, whether you do or do not have a computer, there's telephones and there's these gatherings that we all have that we can talk about the things that are important to us and share stories about our families, because those are important things that we hold near and dear to our heart. And of course, we all come here because we seek out and we try to increase our membership, and that's vitally important. And it's become even more important now because I believe we are in a revolutionary period in the United States of America. And this revolutionary period is going to take place through an evolutionary period of time. So revolution over an evolution. And that evolution is taking place now as we speak, as Congress tries to deny funds for certain programs. Even the Air Force Chief of Staff, I don't know if you know this, but he shares with us, is that the Air Force gets a budget passed. And when they get the budget passed, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force only has discretion over about 35 to 40% of that budget, because Congress tells him how he's going to run his United States Air Force. And I don't know if any of you have been in touch with General Mark Welch. I mean, I'm so proud of him. We email, and he does great stuff, and he's on a TV commercial, for crying out loud. I mean, he is one of the greatest guys you'd ever want to meet, and he's a lot like the best Chief of Staff that ever did that. That's General Ron Fogelman. But the last thing that we do as part of our 4 pillars is we talk about legislation. Now, this is just not a passing thing. This is vitally important as people try to take things away from us. People who want to take away our retirement can earn a retirement based on whether they're a congressman or senator within 8 years. Within 8 years. And the only shots that they take are verbal ones. And I got to tell you, they deserve it. The other thing about that, too, is that these people really can't appreciate what you do because they've never done it. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And so it's important that we let them know and we stand up how strong we are. The Air Force Sergeants Association, thank you. I mean that, thank you. And everybody should say thank you for your service, not only to our country, but to give that service back. It's a great thing. So I wind up here with the last part, and I call it, It's a Wonderful Life. I'm sure that it is undeniable to all of you as you look back on your career, or you see where you're at in your moment of time, you could probably say something like, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it. Or it's really a good life. And it really is. But the truth is, it comes with great, great sacrifice. And maybe that's what makes it so wonderful in the end. The sacrifice of family separation. The sacrifice of low wages. The sacrifice of moving all the time. And it's not just the military member who pays the sacrifice, it's the spouses and the children who make the sacrifice as well. But they would still say, it's a wonderful life. But it's sad that in this day and age, you can't say that freely. Because if you say that freely, there's somebody else who's going to think, oh, you're too happy. You have too much. Your compensation is too great. But you shouldn't have to do that, because there's a true meaning behind the message, It's a Wonderful Life. It's one of my favorite movies. Jimmy Stewart is the actor. It starts out, it's black and white, and then it kind of goes to color. It's a pretty cool deal. And the whole thing, and the theme of the movie was, as it starts, Jimmy Stewart is getting ready to jump off a bridge and kill himself. And he wants to do that because he thinks he's done something wrong that potentially embarrass him and go to jail. But he really hasn't. Somebody just stole something from him. So he jumps into this river, but an angel of mercy, a half-set angel, rescues him. And he takes him back to show everybody what life would be without this person. Of course, he doesn't think that. He just sees that he's always the one who has to carry the water, always the one that has to serve, always the one that has to look out for everybody else. But when he looks back and he sees what would have happened had he not been there, then he sees the true meaning of his life. It was a simple thing, like he saved his 6-year-old brother. He fell through the ice, and he pulled him out of the ice and saved his life. His brother goes on to win the Congressional Medal of Honor because he saved a carrier full of troops by shooting down a kamikaze fighter pilot from crashing into the plane. It shows the fiber of the community, banks, churches, and homes that were developed by this person, and because he wasn't there, it was a town that was full of crime and a place where people went to do simple things. He saw what happened to the community. He saw marriages that weren't in place. He saw families that weren't together. And all of this took place because he did something that he didn't really recognize. Well, the truth is, that's what AFSA does all the time. It's not so much what we do that creates this wonderful life for the men and women who serve. It's what we stop from happening. And you never really realize what it would have been without somebody's contributions, regardless of how small they were. It was somebody's contributions that led to a bigger thing. And so you do that. And so tonight we're going to name some people who are, NCO and Airmen of the Year. And they don't know it, but they may have done something to touch somebody's life already that's going to make life better for them and create this wonderful life. So, 3 things that I think are important to think about as we move forward. A true thank you for your service. You have mine. AFSA, a bright shining star in the sky when it comes to taking care of people and showing the true meaning of thanking people for their service and giving us all this wonderful life that we have. And I close tonight. I always try to think of a unique way to close, and somebody gave me that today. They were asking me why the sky, you guys asked why the sky is blue. Okay. We heard all kinds of technical terms. In fact, that young man right there just said that. And then one of his bosses who's sitting right back over there next to that gorgeous young lady. Yeah. He said, you know what that's called? It's called Riley's scattering. Is that
Rayleigh scattering, yes.
Rayleigh scattering.
Yes,
So,
please.
sorry for the mispronunciation of that whole thing, but I'm going to tell you they're both wrong. The reason why the sky is blue, because it's God's favorite color.